Question I've got, I guess, and it's in two parts. Why undertake regeneration projects and how can they be done most effectively? I guess we like to think of retrofit and refurbishment projects as a healthcare facility regeneration. This seems to have much more positive connotations and improvement through the refreshing of fittings, fixtures and materials, and the provision of new functionality, improved patient experience, staff productivity, well-being and operational efficiencies. Just to go through an overview, firstly we'll look at the drivers and opportunities of the regeneration projects, and then go through some key elements to do with the successful regenerations, being setting clear objectives, designing effective healthcare solutions, successful implementation of design solutions, and finish with a summary and conclusion. The first diagram I've got here looks at the key drivers and opportunities. I guess starting in almost the top there, expedited program where rapid delivery is key, budget optimisation and capital values, building ownership and the options that go around that, operational efficiency, guess you can add ESD and technology integration, retain master plan logic and look for future proofing, regulatory change which may be forced or otherwise looked at for making things better, health and safety and the importance of that, and improved patient experience through revitalisation, and as well as the lack of available real estate and its constraints. So I guess any one of these drivers can be catalysts for regeneration projects, and we like to consider how the outcomes, I guess, of these are basically should be givens to any project. Just going through some of the details, and the first one is the lack of available real estate. Sites are increasingly constrained whilst the hospitals are trying to deliver greater service delivery. Any available space on site is extremely valuable, so patient areas obviously take precedence over other. The real estate may be prohibitive and expensive, and if you're looking at adjoining land, that's very hard to find. And it's often, I guess that real estate land is often severely encumbered, and we've had a lot of projects which really restrict the blocks with easements and other constraints. Available real estate, often not conveniently located, and I guess that's through people always wanting to be close to hospitals. Time constraints associated with acquisitions are also a big problem and to be very aware of. Expediting the program, I guess the first one is politically motivated deadlines is always a good one, and elections coming up as we've got now often get a few things up and running. Funding agreements, obviously motivating deadlines, should always factor in the continuity of care, plus income streams. Business interruption is obviously a big problem. Reduce downtime and trying to think of innovative solutions around improving it or avoiding any downtime. Also, the speed to meet demand, think of a whole lot of different construction methods in order to achieve those demands. Budget optimisation is another key driver, where more affordable than obviously a new build. We look at instances where clinical type refits are often a lot better than building an ancillary new build. They're almost the same price, so depending on speed and your budget, the retrofit can be a very good solution. Value for money is obviously through increased patient throughput, unable to attract adequate funding for a new build, and this could be an interim measure as well as a long term, and leasing of space is more affordable, and Anna Morgan spoke about that earlier, and to consider all the options that are available. The building ownership, as we just mentioned, there's buildings may be leased and not owned. If you're lucky enough, they could even be donated through a charity organisation. And the other one that we've often looked at is when creating new buildings, looking at a third party to lease the part of the facility and then bring that back and reclaim it for future proofing. Operational efficiency, another key driver. Improve patient turnover, of course. Improve technology and investigate new components. Improve staffing models. I guess the other thing with recurrent costing is reduced maintenance and making sure the material selection is done with a lot of investigation. Flexibility to allow for multiple function and optimise utilisation. I guess the trick there is to create facilities and booking processes where any type of facility could be 100% booked and is flexible to allow a lot of different uses. Obviously, environmental sustainability is a big one, with reduced energy and water consumption and waste by sustainability initiatives. Some of the things that we've looked at for this is in some specialist clinics at the Austin, where an eye check-in similar to a airport style check-in devices used to reduce waiting areas. People can't check in till 20 minutes, say, before their appointment, and a lot of these places, especially the elderly people, turn up an hour before so they don't miss their appointment. The bottom picture there looks at a combination of where we've done the emergency department at the Austin, where we've looked at triage bays to get patients that are obviously not as traumatised as others in and out as quick as possible. Look at them putting them into fast track areas, and once again that throughput obviously means we're able to minimise the amount of waiting space and turn it into clinical areas. This picture here shows the fast track area there, and I guess the main thing that I wanted to point out here was the fact if you use a couch instead of a bed, people actually don't expect to be there for as long. If you put a bed there, people going to think to themselves, right, I'm here for the night. So I guess expectation of a shorter stay is often a good way to increase productivity. But I guess all of these retrofits also come with a bit of a warning. It's not all about shortcuts and making sure people get in and out as fast as possible. You must include all the critical components and go through the testing of the facilities and making sure they are big enough. Quite often we don't have enough space to conform to all the regulations. So it's about testing the theories and the spaces to make sure they can work properly, otherwise the whole project fails. Another one is to retain master plan logic. We've done some projects where future proofing has been put in some years prior, 6, 7 years, and by the time we come along to fit that out, that no longer has the required space to meet the functional brief. So the shifting of function area is not practical, and it may lose a little bit of its functional adjacencies as well. And so I guess this is an example of an existing building where all the infrastructure through the middle of the floor plate, if you like, is already set. So it's the most important thing is to look at good functional relationships to make the efficiencies as good as possible. The other thing is the original, like future-proofed areas, often have that ability to be, I guess, challenged. You look at ways in which we can increase the effectiveness of delivery, so stock on the floor plate is minimised through careful consultation with the user groups. Regulatory change, I guess we do a bit of mental health work, and this is one of the key points in this area. There's often responses to tragedies and recommendations by the Chief Psychiatrist's Office. Legislation changes, workspace, I guess, healthcare workspace size and configuration, staff procedures and processes, health and safety standards, and obviously facilities subject to audit can also be shut down if it's found to not be compliant. One of the project up here was, I guess, an example of a new requirement, which in mental health is gender separation, and so you can see there the pink area was closed off to the rest, but could be opened up, and the yellow being able to be swung between the two so that we could flex up and down the number of rooms as required as much as possible. So flexibility was part of the solution. Obviously, health and safety is a major component, and we're always being tested on infection control, occupational health and safety, and acoustics. So I've got a picture of a nice shiny new facility that hasn't been used, but obviously all the considerations of health and safety are taken here, and I guess you can see in this picture as well, at the back there is some windows that look out to a nice green environment, and how that healthy, well-being environment is so important to achieving the success of the operation. Improved patient experience. So we looked at the picture with the window there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a photo of this one the right way around, because this actually is a day-stay oncology where people do sit in chairs, couches, etc. for 6 to 8 hours, or 5, 6 hours at a time, and it actually has bay views. If I had the camera another 45 degrees to the left. So looking at the way in which you orientate people and simple refreshing of fixtures and fittings within this space, creating a more healthy environment. So you look at the ambience, air quality, natural light and the views, which you can't see, greater access and comfort for visitors. So I guess one of the main things we look at as well is that environmental sustainability. Hospital budgets don't necessarily allow for the sustainability, however they do allow for operational efficiencies, providing, I guess, by taking ESD initiatives seriously. So just to reiterate, we're looking for those opportunities, and I think the drivers noted there certainly show what can be obtained from one of these retrofit projects. The second part of this was to look at how can they be done most efficiently or effectively. The three elements of a successful regeneration project, just quickly go through: setting clear objectives, development of the healthcare solution, development of an implementation solution. I guess you should expect a highly consultative approach from your consultants during these activities. The key difference, I think, between the regen project and a new build is an emphasis on the control of the site itself. This takes on great significance when it comes to program management, and you'll need all the stakeholders cooperating with the strategies that are developed. The parts B and C run in parallel with those processes. Setting of clear objectives. We talked about drivers and opportunities. We like to identify considerations to ensure the alignment with the healthcare providers' policies, procedures and long-term strategic plans. Consider objectives relating to project delivery. Ensure objectives are developed with input from all the stakeholders, and obviously engagement with them is highly critical. And capture and communicate project objectives as they're clearly from the outset at a high level as well. This diagram here looks at designing effective healthcare solutions. I guess communication is often brought up in these projects, and communication with the stakeholder is vital. Design quality, we look at that in a critical way, and obviously making sure the detail in these projects, because it's mainly looking at the internal spaces, so we're down to a fine degree of detail with each of the components of the fit out. And in terms of exploration, I'm a big believer in testing options and ideas, and I think through the projects that people have worked with, we haven't given up, even though we make sure that all the other parts of the project are going forward. But if there's an area that still needs a bit of reworking, very keen to test the ideas. I guess there's 101 ways to design anything. Communication, all the needs, obviously, to gather information and understand what the multiple perspectives of any project. We need to look closely at ergonomics, collaboration with the staff, patient and visitor requirements, technology and equipment integration, healthcare facility management requirements, patient care logistics, hygiene and consumables, storage, health and safety, and efficiencies. I guess with the staff, we believe all the people part of these projects, nursing staff, medical practitioners, administration and back of house operations, all have to be part of this process. The exploration part, to explore, test and prototype options in collaboration with project stakeholders. Alignment with the master plan intent is obviously key. The requirement for future flexibility, building in age and the type, obviously need to consider how long it's been around for and how many times it's been refurbished. Presence of services running through it, the reuse of existing fittings and fixtures, functional adjacencies, structural suitability, heritage can come up as well and be very tricky. The viability and efficient engineering solutions and adherence to regulations all go into, I guess, part of the building constraints and opportunities. This is a little ripper of a project that we were unknowingly sending up a plan to Warwick Nabil 4 hours out of Melbourne, and went up to site a couple of days later, and they'd actually built their prototype room in one of the spare spaces there, and they'd laid out all the different spaces in masking tape, put the beds in there, and they actually brought the nursing crew through, who, when they look at it in plan, I guess it's very hard to equate the size of a picture on a plan to a room. So they actually moved beds around and things like that. Chairs represented against the wall, represented cupboards and things like that. And they had the visitors' chair, so it was quite pleasing to see. And they'd knocked that up in half a day, and it was really impressive actually. Design quality. Develop a detailed plan for the chosen option, but test the options. Themes, I guess, are great to ensure a coherent appearance of the completed solution. We quite often develop those themes because they're great for design. Whenever you get stuck on a design idea, you go back to the theme and feel like it's really easy to find a solution. The detailing and how materials interrelate to achieve infection control, which is a huge part to any project, retrofit or otherwise. So I guess we come back to the little diagram and look at the successful implementation of the design solutions, and I guess the communication going back to key stakeholders to make sure through post-occupancy evaluations to make sure we've picked up all their I guess requests. The design qualities through prototypes, not quite like the one we saw there, but as in a finished variety. Exploration, engage, I guess, for awareness of solution in order to obtain those optimal project outcomes. I guess we again need to look at the communication, gathering information in order to understand all the construction constraints. We've got to be very careful of staff downtime, patient and staff safety and invasion. The cost of lost beds and continuity of care all go into, I guess, equating to construction constraints. And again, we need to make sure that the staff are engaged through the process, through design and construction, to make sure that everything's considered from this perspective. The exploration and testing of option in collaboration with project stakeholders. We look at the staging, effective coordination of trades versus hospital operations and access, efficient and safe removal of building waste, and minimisation of dust and noise to come up with the strategy for development. Implementation effectiveness. We often look at different procurement strategies. Early works is probably our favourite at the moment, getting in and testing what the space is about, and I'll show you a photo in a moment. We looked at obviously the main works, and there's even post-occupancy works, I guess you can call it, where you've left some areas behind that need tidying up or demolition at the end. Stakeholder endorsement to a construction coordination plan is vital. Communication plans to ensure seamless rollout of constructions is, I guess, another vital component. Time management, design, demolition, construction happening all in parallel. And we actually look at a lot of projects, and instead of starting them off stage by stage, completing one stage, moving on to the next, we often start master planning, site investigation, schematic design, detailed design, internal elevations in particular. We start the documentation through demolition drawings, etc. Interior designers start to get together colour palettes, and this all happens on day one. And as Anna explained on some of the projects, we've got very short time frames, and that's part of the benefit of retrofitting. So it's certainly a different model as far as we're concerned architecturally. This project here, when we first looked at this is a photo of the early works after it's complete. You're able to walk up in the ceiling. It's got a timber truss, if you like, roof, and you can see part of a timber walkway. I started walking in that. There was chicken wire with services running everywhere, insulation of varying dubious types. There was multiple layers of ceilings where it started off at like 3 and a bit metres. The next renovation decided we'll leave all the services there and just put another ceiling through. And so in some areas the ceilings are down to 2.4 metres only because there was 3 ceilings in places. And the things that were hidden behind walls, and you know, you can do all your hazardous materials audits of the spaces, but the things you find or can't see, and even through some destructive testing, is just a minefield. So through early works, we believe that one, it gives us as architects more time to do all the documentation and make sure the coordination is as thorough as possible, and it's incredibly difficult. And I guess the other thing from a risk perspective, we think taking away that latent conditions problem with an existing building is obviously critical as well. So, in summary, I guess the trick is to set some clear objectives, maintain open communication along with the stakeholder groups, explore and test options in collaboration with all the stakeholders, communicate implementation plans more broadly, run the healthcare solution and implementation phases in parallel where possible. I guess, and because of the tight timeframes and programs, I think you need to be more prepared for a high level of user engagement and clear communication on the plans for staging and interruption through the construction process in particular.